You want to hear something entertaining?
Yeah, what do you got?
Me just getting home with my food not even 10 minutes ago. I'm walking up the stairs. I'm drinking. I'm holding a bag with my fries, my food, and my shake. And what do? I take the drink of the shake instead of securing the food. And as I'm getting to
Mistake number one.
I get to the last step, and I lose my step, and I drop all the food and hold the shake. And then my wife just stares at me. I'm like, I didn't even know what to say. I was like, at least I have my shake.
Well, it's carpeted stairs too, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to drop a shake on carpeted stairs.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Plus, the shake was mine. The fries were hers.
There was clearly logic and, what is it, self-preservation? Nice.
Welcome to the Couch Trolls Podcast with your hosts, Dave and Das Bruce.
How you doing, man?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Pretty good. What you been up to?
Well, I've been, having the plague via mono.
Every episode we've talked about someone getting sick.
Yeah, it's worst. Michigan is just the worst right now.
Next episode, no one's gonna be sick.
I'm
calling it now. I'm calling it now.
I hope you're right. Honestly, I hope you're right. But besides that, I've been playing a lot of games. The usual. Watching Black Panther blow up the box office.
Oh man, did you go see that yet?
Awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
It's probably
that came out, I think, the day I left on vacation.
Yeah, it's probably the best or second best Marvel movie overall.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of villains in movies, and that one finally has a good villain.
It's Andy Serkis, right?
No,
plays Ulysses S. Claw, right?
Claw's in it, but he's far from the real villain in the movie. He's more of the henchman villain. He's got that really stereotype.
He's like
villain.
the Odd Jobs type dude.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I gotta steal this, and then I gotta sell this. Meanwhile, the other guy has this really deep story about how he wants to become the king, and it's real. I don't want to give anything away, but man, it is super good.
All right,
and it's really reminiscent of Iron Man.
Okay.
It shares a lot how grounded it is.
Cool.
And how Iron Man, I still don't think Iron Man's a superhero movie. I've always called that a drama.
I love that movie.
But it's not
First
a superhero.
one is great.
He doesn't save anyone in that movie. It's totally a drama. He saves himself. That no better way to be Tony Stark than just to make it about himself.
Right?
And then this one, I would consider Black Panther more of an African drama movie. I mean, it's very much a movie about tribalism and nationalism. And I mean, it hits a lot of notes, and through the whole movie, he's not really saving anybody. Anytime there's violence, he's finding it. He's looking for a claw, or he's doing this, or he's doing that. He's never really, people are in danger, I want to go save them. That doesn't really happen. But I don't know. So what game have you been playing?
I was gone out of the country, so I had no internet access. So
what kind of gamer are you, dude? I'm gonna have all the free time in the world for 10 straight days, and I don't bring a single handheld console.
I don't own any You know what the most portable console I have is a Virtual Boy. Okay, do you really think that me hooking up a Virtual Boy would be a good move on a boat?
No,
it's sliding across the table between that the redness of the
honestly,
graphic display.
Virtual Boy didn't have a real purpose ever.
If I didn't have seasickness before, the Virtual Boy would only contribute to that, man. Come on.
The boat will be sinking. Don't worry, I'm in my virtual tennis right now.
I do like the fact that that thing has an auto pause function. No, plus I think my left side is going out. I got to replace some wires on that Virtual Boy.
It's a crappy system. But
good system.
While you're out on your love boat, I went ahead and not only did I put a review up for Assassin's Creed on our Facebook page, but I also went ahead and I played a lot of games. I have to make up for the lack of you playing games. I'm sitting here sick. I'm just playing tons of games.
So wait, you post a review on the thing too? I'm still catching up on all the... No, literally I've had to backtrack. Surprisingly, 10 days of internet, a lot of crap happens.
Very true. But yeah, we've received some requests that actually put, what do you think of this specific game? And I was like, it's really not that big of a deal for me to spend 10 minutes and put a review up. I mean, I can be real passionate about certain games, and a game that I actually spend enough time to actually beat nowadays, I'm going to have at least enough insight into the game to tell people whether they should play it or pass on it. Especially in games like Assassin's Creed Origin. You see that game, it kind of didn't make as big of an impact as I expected it to make.
What did you expect it to do?
Well, in the season, I mean, it it skipped a year, and it's a huge franchise, and everyone was begging for Egypt. So it finally came out, and it just didn't make a big ripple because Mario Odyssey came out, and Wolfenstein Colossus came out, and some of those games just were all over the internet. But for somehow Assassin's Creed kind of just, I'm sure it sold well, but did it really like get people like talking about it? No.
I mean, do you really need talk if people are still enjoying a game?
I feel like nowadays that's the difference between like a success and like a real big success is whether people can talk about it 3 months later, which I guess now Assassin's Creed's dropping their content, and they just dropped their discovery mode where they took all the combat elements out of the game and you can just walk around the world and click on these nodes that will explain different parts of Egypt. It's super cool.
It's developer commentary. Like Valve has been doing that for years.
Except they have like real historians, so all their information is legit, and it's really great, and it can be used as a teaching tool if they want it to be.
Okay.
But it seems like
so you think it has cross appeal into like was it edutainment, right? Educational entertainment. Remember that? Do you remember when the PlayStation had that huge box of like games for children?
Oh yeah, and then they all sucked. And
it was all just awful games.
Well, this one you can buy Assassin's Creed, the educational, the discovery mode. You can buy that without actually owning the game.
Oh really?
So if I was a teacher in a class and I wanted to show people like Egypt and wanted to kind of connect to young kids that liked video games, I could buy that, bring it to class, and just show them because it doesn't have to be online.
Well, I think that video games have been way underutilized as a teaching tool. I remember when I was younger, we actually had a small computer lab for like people whose brains were wired differently and everything to see what they were kind of doing.
Special needs?
Probably. That's my guess. But no, they gave us like computer games where we would go and we would calculate out like mathematical issues, but in the type of game because it give you a visual learning environment. I remember this. Oh man. Remember this like hot air balloon where it's like you'd had to take off to your elevation and then you had to land. It was basically like a mini pilot wings type thing.
Even like the typing games like that would help teach you how to type.
Yeah.
You know, that was a really big one for us.
Typing tutor.
And then, you know, Oregon Trail, it taught you how to die.
Yeah.
How many different ways you could die.
Dysentery.
Always dysentery.
Always dysentery.
But
here's the thing though, with the whole subject of, you know, games being used for other things than just entertainment or in the sense of creativity as it is an endeavor. I figure we'll use this to launch into something that I know you're super passionate and love so much.
I'm definitely passionate. I don't know if I would say love, but
the company that just has stolen your heart and turned it to gold over the last several years, Nintendo. Labo. Let's talk about Labo.
Yeah. So I still can't believe it. Nintendo has people hyped for their Nintendo Direct, which by Nintendo Direct as a whole, really great idea. Hey, let's have these random 10-minute clips every quarter. I think it's about every quarter they'll release 1 or 2 Nintendo Directs. Hey, this is what's coming out. This is new. This is what we're adding to our games. It's really a great way to slowly feed your community on games that you're about to release. But everyone's super expected Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers for Switch. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. And then, boom, Labo. And everyone is just shocked and confused.
I don't know. I think it makes sense. If you know the company's history, I mean, they were a card game company a while ago. When was that?
1889.
How do you just have stats all the time, don't you?
I read books.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't. Yeah, no, but they used to be a card game company. So the fact that it's like, you know, cards, it's something you print out and just send out, it makes sense. Like they're kind of touching on what they used to do and merging that with what they're doing now.
I mean, I guess for our audience to better understand, if you haven't seen Labo, what Labo really is they've come out with a new way of basically providing cardboard cutouts that you can build your own creations with. They have specific creations, kind of like how Lego work. You have a piano, a robot, a backpack, a fishing rod. And what they do is they provide you a variety pack of pieces where you can build your own ideas and play games using your
Switch.
Switch.
Origami almost, where it's like, hey,
bit.
here's a sheet, fold it to these specifications, it creates this thing. So each thing is individual. It's not like they're interchangeable like Legos, which would be kind of cool.
I think the pieces are interchangeable.
Do you think so?
Because the variety pack comes with a certain number of pieces, but it's not, these pieces go to this, these pieces go to this. You have to use those pieces and switch them around.
Okay.
When I saw the Labo for the first time, it is Lego. It is cardboard Legos.
Really?
Yep. And how they're going to have to sell that, I think it's an awful idea. I get that Nintendo being a toy company since, I'm trying to think, 1966.
Okay.
And then, they didn't become a game company until the 70s.
Yeah.
So I can see where a lot of those principal ideas of them being a toy company still come to light, where they're trying to bring something new to their Switch or new to their company that other companies are not even trying to do. Other companies don't care about making toys.
See, they've always been up for changing it and shaking things and seeing what they can do in different ways. The thing I was really super freaked out about was when they did do the Switch, because the Switch feels like a handheld to me. And like I said, I'm not a big handheld guy. The only handheld I really have I got a Game Boy Advance, but that's just because I do the link cable for
GameCube.
The GameCube stuff. Because Four Swords Adventure is great,
of course.
But when you have such variety in your stuff, and you make a handheld, or when you make a console that is your handheld, I feel like that almost eats into the handheld market. I was really confused.
This is what really
by
pisses me
that.
off about Nintendo.
What?
Nintendo is, being a business guy and even being an analyst that works pretty close with looking at statements and understanding how businesses function. Nintendo breaks all the rules.
Is that a bad thing, though? I don't think it is.
It's a terrible thing.
How is it a terrible thing?
See, the Labo is a perfect example. Not only are they any company can take a risk and diversify themselves and make some really big
Is it
new
really
idea.
diversifying, though? They're going back to some of the things that they used to do. It's within the range, man.
Making cardboard Legos for a handheld system is super innovative, and here's the problem with it. It's Nintendo, so Nintendo's going to have one or two situations happen. You're going to have, it's going to be somehow a stupid success.
Yep.
Everyone's going to want it.
Yep.
Nintendo's going to be every store gets two, and then no one's going to find it. And then the internet's be what are we going to do? We love this, but we can't get it. So we're going to just go use our 3D printers.
Yeah.
And we're going to make all of our own stuff.
They're just going to third party it.
They're wait a minute, you're selling us $80 cardboard and string? Well, screw that. I'm going to go to Hobby Lobby and go ahead and make my own Labos and sell them online.
Okay, here's the problem, though. Yes, that's great that you have access to that, but it's the game that you get with it on top of the cardboard building. So it's two parts, man. You can't just have the cardboard.
How often does the game really hold up as far as quality to meet the expectation that it has to buy a peripheral for it?
I don't know. The robot thing looks pretty dope. The giant robot backpack that you have fight and punch with, man.
I'm sure, but think back to, again, Nintendo's more recent roots of the Wii. The Wii had motion built into it.
Which was cool.
It was, but how many good games actually came out using those motion controls? Red Steel was terrible. Red Steel 2. Oh, we're going to make it better now. No, it still sucked. They couldn't even make Zelda good with motion controls.
I don't know. It was all right, man. It added some variety.
The Wii Zelda is the worst Zelda.
Here's the thing. I got the Wii because I wanted something different. I wanted something fun. I wanted some snippets, and the fact that you could get anyone to game on that. My grandma would play Wii bowling with me.
Your grandma's not going to build a piano out of cardboard and play it.
I know, but I'm saying there's different steps and oddities and stuff. I kind of dropped off from Nintendo a little bit. I love the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was my first system. I love that thing. I went back and got a Nintendo after that. I've liked Nintendo for a long time. 64, I kind of jumped off on. But 64 had a lot of really good qualities that I think helped push. The four...
Yep, and that's the funny part between
ports.
us is I was a Sega kid. I never had anything before Sega. And to this day, I've never owned a Super or NES.
Which you should. I'm telling you,
I should,
need
but that's what...
a SNES Mini.
Oh, we'll get there, especially with the Mini conversation. But see, my jump-on point was actually Star Fox 64 at Target.
Really?
That was the first time I played a Nintendo system and actually enjoyed it to the point where I'm I want this really bad. I was obviously the Rumble Pack was why they were really, I remember the Rumble Pack being part of their big demonstration for it or whatever.
Well, that was packaged with Star Fox, right?
But after having a PlayStation for so long, I think what really appealed to me with Nintendo, they were hey, 4-player co-op. our 4-player versus. They really brought a new level to the playing field for what multiplayer could be, and especially couch co-op.
Oh yeah.
You know, I back then we didn't have any of the stupid online games where everything was kind of connected online, and it had to be like at that time. It was like I'd have friends over, and we'd have like on my PlayStation. Hey, you want to play a fighting game? We'd take turns. Pass the controller was the big thing for a PlayStation. 64. Wait, all 4 of us can play WWE together?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was always the problem with me being a PlayStation guy then. Like, it was always, I made a point to go, okay, here's a list of the multiplayer games that I can get my hands on. Quake 2 was great. But, you know, I had a multi-tap, I had the controllers, and I would go hunt down the games. And yeah, Nintendo by going, hey, guess what? 4 ports. Let's go nuts on this. That was great. GameCube, I didn't bother with GameCube.
And that was actually, I think
I bought.
You bought my GameCube.
I did. I did end up buying.
I was broke college kid. I needed money, and the GameCube just didn't sell it on me anymore. But
always love
I don't know,
it.
like I feel like
still have only 5 games for that, I think.
Well, and then probably most of them are rare games that you'll never play.
Nah, Billy Hatcher, made by Sonic Team.
I don't know, like when the GameCube came out, that was really the first moment where you were like, Nintendo is in trouble, because people who bought GameCube bought them for 1 or 2 games, but there was never a real support behind that console at all because it didn't bring anything. It didn't modernize graphics. And that was actually around the same time where they were starting to do online servicing. That's when Xbox Live was kind of in motion.
Yep. Well, the original Xbox, like I said, during that whole GameCube, PlayStation 2 era, I went to Xbox. But I feel like Nintendo has a thing where it's almost like a hit or miss, because that GameCube, right? Like I said, GameCube I didn't buy. A lot of people like the GameCube, but they only like it for like a handful of games.
Smash Brothers Melee.
Smash Brothers Melee.
I feel like everyone
Eternal Darkness.
Yep.
What's some other ones?
Well, for me, Resident Evil or the Resident Evil 1 remake was the reason I had that system. I bought it for that game.
Yep, but there was specific games that you bought because of that system, but it's got a handful of games that people love and cherish that were really solid, that's why you buy that system. You know what I mean?
And I see that. I almost feel that's how Nintendo's consoles have been ever since, excluding handheld. I feel like handheld's really outside this conversation for the most part, because handheld, they've just dominated.
Oh yeah, the PSP they sunk.
Yep, and Sony doesn't try nearly as much as Nintendo. The Nintendo just dominated. But what I'm really referring to is Nintendo's inability to make consoles that appeal outside of their loyal community of people. Oh, I had a Super Nintendo, so of course I'm gonna want to play Donkey Kong again and Star Fox again, and I'm gonna want to play Mario again. Like, they're not really bringing new people. They're just keep getting the same people to buy each console they release.
Well, okay, like I said, the GameCube really kind of lost it on me and everything, and then the Wii came out. Wii was great. I enjoyed it. Decent advertising, because I barely remember the GameCube ads. I remember like the little like they would show like
Samurai Cube commercial.
Yeah, it was like a dude in a box, or like a race car driver, or a fighter or something. Like it was something in like a box, because it's in the cube. That's what it was.
Yeah,
it was
they really hampered on how everything was cube related, but by talking about it being cube related, never really demonstrated why you should buy a GameCube.
Exactly. And then the Wii at least went and did that with their advertising, because they had the whole "We Would Like to Play" campaign, where it's the 2 dudes from Nintendo show up. They're like, "Look, we got a Wii," and then they're going into people's houses and they're sitting there playing it with the family, and it's like, "Look, we got games for all types of people." They'd showcase different varieties of games, which was cool. But then the freaking Wii U came out.
Before we get to the Wii U, now think back to the Wii.
Yes.
Now, if you got rid of, what was it, the game Wii Bowling was on?
Yes.
What was it called?
Wii Sports. It was packaged in.
Okay. Pretend Wii Sports never existed. Would that system have done well?
No.
And to me, I feel like that Wii Sports was the phenomenon, not the console.
Agreed. It was a showcase, though, of the potential. And the potential is what got people interested.
But it didn't get developers interested, because every game that came out afterwards that used those same controls sucked.
Well, like, what is it? Ubisoft's developers, I recall hearing like an interview saying that they enjoyed doing it, which is why we got like Rayman Rabbids around that time, which was, it was a fun,
They
goofy...
threw him a minion.
Oh, dude, I'm surprised that they have not I'm surprised that they have not sued Minions over that for some
There
reason.
will be a Rabbids movie eventually in theaters. I know that they just talked about how Sonic and Mario were getting like real like blockbuster type movies.
I heard something about that
There's
too.
a Rabbids one coming. I'm telling you, there's a Rabbids one
Oh,
coming.
absolutely.
There's no way Ubisoft is gonna sit on that and watch Mario make all the
From the
money.
team that brought you Minions comes Rabbids.
No,
All it is a palette swap. It's just they swapped out the Rabbids.
No, they should
Or
do.
swapped out the
When the
Minions for
Mario
Rabbids.
movie comes out, they should make a short using the Rabbids. You know, like how a Pixar movie has like the 5-minute short.
Yeah, well,
if they made Rabbid shorts for all these like random movies, they would suddenly become like this really cool thing for kids.
That would totally work. That would totally work too because they now share a universe because of
Mario plus Rabbids.
yeah, which you've played, right?
Yeah, which we'll get there with Switch. But
Okay.
man, you know, and then
Are we back on Wii U then?
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, still my question on the Wii.
Okay.
I mean, so you were a big advocate of the Wii. You bought the Wii early.
Yes.
Now, after you were done with just that one game, Wii Sports, what other games did you play for that system that you can remember loving?
Remember loving? Honestly, not much.
There's your problem because I think back to mine. I loved Fire Emblem, and guess what? I used a classic controller for it. I loved Mario Kart. I used a classic controller for it. Every game I loved on that system, I used the classic controller. So the very existence of its motion controls did nothing for me. All I wanted was an ability to play certain Nintendo franchises like the GameCube.
Let's see, Mario Kart, I did that.
Come on, the steering wheel thing. Who honestly uses the steering wheel mechanics of turning?
I do.
Yeah,
I was the only one.
Yep.
And then I realized that I like the nunchuck better.
Exactly.
And then switch.
It never.
I'm still a Wiimote nunchuck guy though when it comes to Smash Brothers, and people look at me like weird. They're like, "Oh, I gotta find batteries for this thing now. Why can't you just use a GameCube controller?" I thought GameCube controller was terrible.
Yeah,
Everyone seems to love the GameCube
you know
controller.
what? I think I hate the Wii controller more, only for the fact
Really?
that the battery thing. My batteries die
Oh,
all
the
the
batteries are
time.
terrible in
I mean,
that.
all the time. Nintendo really needed to come out with a strong way, a good recharger without having to rely on Energizer or some of them because some of theirs were junk.
We gotta say, everyone loved Wavebird too.
And see, Wavebird was probably people's favorite controller for a little while there because it being wireless.
Yeah.
That was a huge step for Nintendo to, hey, we're going to come out with wireless controllers. And people to this day, they're like, oh, we can use Wavebirds on the Wii.
Yep.
And if I had to say anything good about the Wii, I would say that
The four ports, the GameCube controller ports on there.
Backwards compatibility
Yes.
with the GameCube,
Yes.
plus having the 4 ports for the Wavebird, excellent idea.
Oh, that was one of their smartest moves, man.
And then after, their huge success with that, they throw themselves off a boat by making the worst marketing campaign in history for the Wii U.
There was no marketing campaign.
Exactly.
Where did you play one at? That was my question. Because no, I went in. We hunted down. I remember you and I. We went and we did like a mini road trip, and we're like, we're gonna hit up every Best Buy. We're gonna try to find a functioning Wii U because we were super curious about it. And it's like all we had was their little like promotional video thing of, oh, you can play it on your tablet and the TV's off, but you're still playing the game on your tablet thing. And you ended up buying one.
And this is what always happens with me. I'm not a huge advocate of Nintendo, but eventually something appeals to me to the point where I buy one.
The two systems that did not appeal to me, you somehow bought. Explain that to me.
Well, one, I love Fire Emblem. Anything Fire Emblem's on, I buy. It's just something I have to do. But the Wii U actually got me because I have kids now. And I'm sitting down with 2 kids and they're looking at my PlayStation and my Xbox 360 games. And they're like, well, we have 2 options. We can play Rayman or Via Pinata.
Well, you wouldn't let them play Gears of War?
And then, like Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet's fun.
Yeah, it is. But then I have a wife and 2 kids at the time. And I'm like, well, no, it'd be great right now? Mario Kart. And the best way to play Mario Kart? The Wii U.
Because you have...
And what's even better, when your wife loves Zelda, she can play Zelda on the tablet while I play PlayStation on the TV. And we can sit next to each other and play 2 separate consoles.
See, now do you feel like that the Wii U then was like beta tested for, hey, let's make the Switch?
That's exactly what it was. It was a good idea, but had poor execution because of the radius that you could be away from the Wii U. Like at the time when I was between houses, I lived with my mother-in-law. Dude, I plugged my Wii U into the wall
Yeah.
Not the TV ever. It was never even in a room that had a TV. And I played it around the house.
Nice.
And that's what that was for. It was very much what the Switch is.
Yeah.
It was an ability to not be stuck to a TV.
It was console gaming mobility.
Yep. And it was great because I beat games like Donkey Kong and Bayonetta, games I probably would have never gotten around to playing, but the Wii U gave me a way to play games without having that TV in the wall.
I think it's weird that we're at that point now where mobile gaming has no longer, like, people want mobile games. People enjoy their little crappy, like, time killers and everything. But friend of the show, Kyle, right, has a Switch.
Yeah, the guy that hates Nintendo.
The guy,
no, he doesn't. He loves old Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and NES Nintendo. But I got him to get a GameCube. I think it was because of Resident Evil, and then a couple of games again. He's one of those ones that is super hesitant to really ever dive into a Nintendo system.
Also, Twin Snake's great on GameCube. Just want to point that out.
If he's ever played that, we'll
I
ask
own
him
that one.
that.
He's a huge Metal Gear guy.
For him not to be a real Nintendo fan of the last 20 years, and then to be like, "Hey, I got a Switch," and then I love Skyrim.
Well, here's what my question was for him, because he went from, gaming to he bought and decked out like a PC for
he became
Skyrim.
PC mods.
He became a PC dude, and don't worry, people, we are eventually going to have a PC guest on here. We're working out some.
We're definitely getting some feedback that we need more of an expert on PC.
Yeah, no, we're working on that. That is in the pipeline. But he went and was a PC guy then, still doing consoles, but PC for all the mods and all the different aspects of what you can do with a PC, high resolution graphics. And then he's like, "Yeah, I bought Skyrim and Doom on Switch," and I'm like, dude, that runs at like 720 on the handheld. And he's like, "Yeah, but it's a small screen, so it works out." And I'm like, how is it you went from I have to have the most powerful thing in the galaxy to...
And I actually had him explain that to me because we were talking about
what
it.
explanation did he give you?
What happens when you add mods to a game is you break the experience.
Yes.
And what he was talking about is how he actually, going back and playing it on his Switch, not only the mobility for Skyrim's got to be huge because of the time suck that it has, but also it made him forget how great the game was by itself. So I think he learned to reappreciate the game for what it was.
It went back to like a sense of purity.
In some ways, mods are like cheats in a lot of ways. What they do is they elevate you above what the developer wants you to do. And I think that's a real burden of PC because it's always going to be there. It's always available to you.
It's fun though, man. It's a whole lot of fun.
I've played a lot of portal levels, like mod portal levels, and they are great. But it's just, I think that's something that can easily be overlooked, that it's actually damaging what the developers want you to play. But to get back to that Nintendo, kind of went on a rant there.
Well, to be fair, Nintendo has a big echo of influence.
It does. But now that we're on this whole mobility thing, I mean, after all these years of, just being I think Nintendo's been a bad company for years. They have not been good.
Financially?
Financially, the Wii U destroyed them. I mean, it didn't destroy them. They're loaded and they're doing fine, but it hurt them a lot. And what it did is emphasize the problems that already exist in that company. They're unwilling to move forward with any technology. They stay away from internet connectivity. You have virtual consoles on there are a joke. Oh, we have 5 to 10 games we can offer you. Meanwhile, I can go online and just grab a port of 200 different Nintendo games. They don't make it really compelling to want to buy their Super Nintendo or their Super Mario Brothers for $10 when I can just steal it online. They're constantly fighting with themselves because everything they do is half-assed. They're never working hard enough to really stay with the times. I understand we don't want voice.
I think it's in tradition though, man. I think it really comes down to the fact that they've done things for a long time. They protect their brand. They're a family company, man. Like, they make games for families, for kids. They have that foothold. They don't have to do anything, but they consistently put out good quality products. Like, anytime there's a Mario game out, generally speaking, it's great game because they take their time. They're not, I mean, they had that stint with, was it Mario Run or whatever?
Yep.
And I mean, that didn't feel like anything great. And I mean, where did that go?
it's still, compared to other Infinite runners, it's still above average. So
Yeah.
So I mean, when you really compare it to its peers, it's a good quality game for what it is. But what I'm talking about is really like the fact that I can't really buy digital games nearly to the way I can buy them on a PlayStation 4. And the back cataloging, I know it's not great, but I just feel like people are constantly trying to steal from Nintendo because Nintendo makes it so hard to get the things that people want to buy. And
Oh, you're talking about like with the like distribution thing of the NES Classic and all that stuff?
well, think of emulators as a whole. How many people have used emulators for Nintendo and Super Nintendo? I mean, they've just been constant.
Yeah.
So I thought it was fantastic. I was like, oh, they're gonna have an NES emulator as a actual mini console. That's a novel idea, and it's a good way to get people to actually pay you for your assets instead of just steal them. Oh, but then we're gonna do the Nintendo thing where it's gonna be a super success, and instead of really using the right logistics, we're just gonna undersupply it, making everyone mad about it, and then paying people online $250 for it.
I don't think they're deliberately under manufacturing though, man.
They have said in countless interviews how they're really cautious about supply and demand. They intentionally don't want to push product too hard because they want people talking about it.
Well, what happens if they push the Wii U too hard? Then what happens?
They didn't have to push it at all. It came out and no one bought it.
But I'm saying like there was none of that with that. There was none of that with the GameCube.
But see, how it should work for any company is they should expect demand, meet demand, and then go beyond demand, knowing
But
that...
if you don't know what your demand is yet, like how are they supposed to know that the Nintendo Wii was going to be as big of a success as it was?
I don't know if you remember the Wii very well, but when the Wii, even after a year, it was still harder than hell to find a console.
Yeah.
It doesn't... In the world where Amazon and Walmart exist, both of those companies
You're talking about distributors, not manufacturing.
But they have manufacturers. You think the Vizio TV? There's a reason there's a lot of Vizio TVs.
Here's the thing, though. if that's you putting your... Okay, my problem with that is this. If you're going and making something and you're like, we have to make it this way, right? Because this is the quality that people know and expect from us for years. And then you go, hey, I'm going to hire this other guy to make the same thing, but you don't know if they're going to do it as well as you. There's a risk in your quality. There's a risk in your brand.
Yep, and I completely understand
and that's
protecting
the thing.
that.
If you were to buy a Nintendo system for your daughter, right, like a 3DS or something, you know that that's going to be of some level of quality, right?
And I do, but I guess what I'm getting to...
And they're protecting that because, once again, it's a family trusted thing. It's you go, hey, I can buy this for my kid. A piece is not going to fall off and get lodged in her throat because, it was made by, some company that decided to use cheaper plastic because they were...
But in manufacturing, there are ways to expand on your manufacturing. You cannot tell me with all the money that Nintendo has, they cannot afford another manufacturing building. I don't know exactly how they do it, whether they do have like licensed manufacturers that make their product, but however it's done, it's not hard to believe that they cannot get another building to make their product and make it successful with the same quality. It's not laziness. It's simply their lack of understanding of how supply and demand work. They intentionally make it hard, and if they're not doing it intentionally, they're just doing a poor job at it. And it reflects because even the Switch this year, I was slightly impressed because about a month after Christmas, I started seeing Switches. That's huge because Nintendo usually, you never find their product. But then I'm also seeing, hey, we have a new 2DS and a new 3DS coming out. I should have been able to find a Switch everywhere at Christmas if you just quit making those stupid 3DSs. I don't want a new 3DS game or a 2DS game. I want a new Switch game to release. How about all the games that you're developing for those systems, drop them on the Switch? I don't understand with all this stuff with them is if they do have all these manufacturers making handheld, stop making them and start making more Switch products. It makes perfect sense. They're underutilizing the things that are selling the best. I can see like with the mini NES and Super NES, they've made constant quotes about how they're not really making a whole lot of money on them. It's essentially just a fan service.
Yeah.
I understand.
Which is nice. They care about their people that get their products.
I get that. But if you're gonna commit to making something, at least make it where people are not mad at you for not making enough of them.
That just comes down to more of a business perspective, man. And I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Games are an art thing, though. You can't.
It's never art, Bruce.
It's art, okay? Look, if you want something, you got to wait for the craft and the time and the beauty of it to be created. And then guess what? Then some guy goes, you know what? I bet you we can sell this and make a bunch of money. If you want, okay, you know what?
But that's the problem I have with them. They make beautiful games.
Yeah.
But what they don't do is they don't take it from, here's our beautiful game to my house. That whole system between finishing their game and making a quality game, which they make, they just don't make, they don't have a quality supply chain getting it from their business to my house. Every part of it is goofed up somehow by bad marketing, or they have
if you
lack
want
of
stuff
merchandise.
mass pumped out, then just go with a company that doesn't make systems, that just makes games. Just go with EA.
Oh yeah, yep. And
EA is a business. If you want a business,
yep,
get your stuff from business.
It is
Tell
funny.
EA to start making kids games.
Yep, and they've tried, and they
Have they? What have they made?
Unravel.
Oh, really? That kind of looked okay.
Exactly. And then, you know what? That's exactly the point. They're too busy making Madden.
They're too busy making Madden.
But, you know, and EA is a good counterpoint to what Nintendo is. You know, EA is really about business, which brought up the whole loot box thing. And I'll never see Nintendo doing loot boxes. The day they put loot boxes in the game will be a very sad day. Because
Viva Pinata loot box?
that's Xbox.
It's kid friendly, though.
Yeah, right?
Well, Xbox needs some kids'
But-
games, too.
You know, EA, they sacrifice everything for their dollar. But EA is also not a manufacturer of any hardware.
Yeah.
PlayStation is. So PlayStation, they come out with Horizon Zero Dawn. They sell 7.6 million copies of it. But they still manage to sell 75 plus million copies of PlayStation 4s. You know, they still maintain their hardware and their software.
And you can easily get a VR
Yep.
console still, too.
You've always been able to. And even though demand wasn't super high on it, but Sony has a manufacturing supply chain that allows everything they come out with to have accessibility.
Even the Vita.
I mean, hell, look, why can't I order directly from Nintendo online? It makes no sense. Why can't, if I want a system and they're sold out, why can't I just put my name on a list and then when one is available, they send it to me? It makes no sense that doesn't exist. Nintendo seriously has a lack of effort on their manufacturing front. It is, unless they are truly doing it intentionally to hold it all back because they want it to
I think
be.
it's all just a ruse.
It's not a ruse. I guess it's a business strategy.
Oh, wait. Nintendo's a business now?
They try to be. They're sitting on pots of gold from all their past. If GameCube was the first system to ever come out for Nintendo, they would not be a successful company.
Agreed.
They are sitting on the fortunes of past legacies. Not
So wouldn't that make sense to tap into your past legacy of, you know, being a card and toy maker and, I don't know, add toys and cards to your digital platform system? I mean, they did that with the, you remember the e-readers that they had?
yeah. Where are those at today?
Huh?
Dead.
In collections. But, well,
Nintendo constantly comes out with peripherals that fail. Oh, you want a holster for your gun for Resident Evil 4? Buy this $20 piece of plastic to use for one game.
oh, the Link's crossbow challenge thing?
Well, that too.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Labo almost does seem like those plastic add-ons for when they had the Wii and everything. It's all cycling back. It's fine.
It's fine, but
If you're going to like it, you're going to like it. If you're going to hate it, you got to stop looking at it from a business perspective and just look at it as possibilities that they're giving to their
I want
players.
Nintendo to commit.
Possibility.
That's the problem. Not possibility. I don't want, hey, we're going to try this. I want commitment. They're either going to do it or they're not going to do it. You know, oh, Labo to creative types like yourself or others may have a huge, huge market, but no parent in their right mind is going to buy a $300 Switch and then be like, oh, I can buy this one box for $80 more. It's full of cardboard that I got to help my kid put together. I mean, who is their market for that kind of thing? You know, it makes no sense for what they're charging. If it was my kid wants a $20 game.
I feel like it's a learning toy. Okay?
It possibly is.
It is a learning toy, and there is nothing wrong with them going and getting into that market, so to speak.
If they commit to it, I don't mind it either.
But if they're going into another market, then isn't that good for business? Because they're expanding market. You keep talking about how they're a terrible business, and yet I see them intentionally checking like the other lane every now and then to be like, hey, should we try to go over here and see if there's, more highway to run on?
Diversifying into other products could be good, but the problem is if I do it and then it sells well and they don't supply any more product, then it's a wasted opportunity.
Well, when do you put down a product and when do you run with the new? You know what I mean? Like, because for a while there, the going back to the Wii had that backwards compatibility. When they started doing the newer Wiis and the smaller things, they started removing all of the GameCube hookups.
Yeah, when
they made it not backwards compatible then when they did that.
But that was after the product had already matured. Like, they weren't selling anymore.
Well, then
at that
why
point.
are you pissed at the 3DS if they're still making that? Because the Switch has not matured yet. The Switch has been out for how long?
I'm
like
not
a year.
The 3DS is a fantastic system. My problem with it is I don't want to hear excuses about not enough product of their successful new stuff, and then they're pumping out stuff that's been out for years. Stop pushing your 3DS and start pushing your Switch. Anyone that has a 3DS, man, even offer some kind of incentive for them to trade it in towards a Switch. Get off that handheld and come to our new handheld. Nintendo makes most of their money off their software anyways.
Nintendo lives off legacy though, man.
They can have a legacy without having so many stupid handheld systems out there. They need to evolve and move on to the newest thing.
I got no fight in the handheld fight, which is why I think part of the reason why I don't own a Switch yet is because it still feels
doesn't do anything for you.
No, it still feels like a handheld. And the thing is, like, when I like to game, I like to sit down couch, and I mean, you have that ability with the Switch
and the Wii U, just to point it out.
Yeah, but I don't want to double check screens for stuff. The only thing that was really good for was I love me some Mario Maker. Mario Maker was one of their best moves. And
that game that is the iconic problem with Nintendo. If Mario Maker was allowed to be on YouTube, and if it was easier for me to share my creations with my friends and
you're talking about the digital thing, because you had to do codes for levels.
You have to have like your code requests, and there was all sorts of barriers for you to really share things that you created on that game. If I could have just uploaded that stuff to YouTube, everyone would want to do it because there's that opportunity of doing something new or, getting hits on YouTube. It is kind of weird that they have that shared experience of, hey, I've made something, let's play this together. And then stop you from creating a community for it. Yeah, because your community always was, whoever you had on the couch. Because like I said, those 4 ports. 4 ports, man. Unfortunately, that's not where the video games are today. Video games today are now like our last episode with PUBG and Fortnite. Those can bring 40 million people together because of how they allow people to jump on to that game. That was like 2 episodes ago. Well, it was 2 episodes ago. Yeah. It was episode 4. Yeah. But, Nintendo needs to eventually understand that maybe Splatoon should be something people can watch online. Hey, I think they're trying to start to push that with the esport thing, and that game is online playable. Yep. There's still okay. Right now, Nintendo's stage for online play, I think, is finally to the point where it's where the Dreamcast was at. I think. It's 20. Almost, they're 20 years behind. But you know what though? They go and they take their time. But when they take their time, they put out something that is solid. They're conservative. Have you heard any issues with servers for Splatoon? Yes. Have you really? Yeah. When it came out, it wasn't that good. Okay, when it came out, but Splatoon 2 is out now, right? Yep, Splatoon 2. And it's on the Switch. It did fine. And it's fine. Like I said, but that was their first really major competitive multiplayer. You know what? I lied. Remember, Nintendo tried to they made an app that you had to download to play with Splatoon so you could talk to each other online. Well, that's why I said Dreamcast, because Dreamcast really didn't have audio support that well. Nintendo's still trying to figure out how to do the thing that Xbox 360 did fine. Just put a headset on and talk. They're trying to figure out different ways around that, and instead of going with the system and going with what's working, they're trying to pave their own way. but all they're doing is running into more and more issues when it's such a simple solution that they don't want to be part of.
But when you pave your own way, you've made your own solid ground. You're not relying on what someone put in front of you that is cracked, crumbled, and possibly falling apart.
I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, honestly, I still think Nintendo's a good company, but I just
Do you?
feel,
Because it doesn't sound like it.
yep, I know Nintendo. They make good quality games. They make quality consoles for what they are, but what they don't do is where I still have issues with them is really their post product stuff. I have problems with how they handle their supply and demand. I have problems believing that they're going to commit to their consoles.
Post support then is your problem.
Everything after the developer finishes the game and the game goes gold.
Yeah.
After that is where all of Nintendo needs improvement.
But I like the fact that when they go and they put something out, they go, hey, it's here. I mean, for the most part, there's been a few instances, but when they put out a game, they go, this is the game.
Yep.
Where other people are like, here's a 32 gig day one update patch. Nintendo goes and, they take the time. There is the quality assurance.
And
that you
I'll
get
never
from them.
argue with the quality of an actual Nintendo game because that's not my problem with them. It's definitely their hardware business and how they handle their marketing. I just don't feel like they do a good job in North America. It may be different in Japan and Europe. I don't really know. But as far as I know, how they handle amiibos, how they handled the Wii, how they handled the Switch.
Amiibos. A great concept, though, because it's DLC, right?
Yep, they sold downloadable content.
Yeah, the little statues you get for your Nintendo. We should probably at least explain this real quick because, like I said, I don't think anyone owns a Wii U. But here's the thing. There was a little chip reader. It worked almost like the Skylanders or the Lego Dimensions, the Toys to Life thing. But it would actually add content or be extra DLC. So it was this cool figurine of whatever your favorite characters are, but you could go and put it on this little pad on there. And it works with a Switch too. Switch has a reader built in.
And so does the 3DS, but you have to buy the adapter or buy the newest version of the 3DS.
Okay, but they still have the ability where you go and you put the toy on there, it goes and links up and adds extra content to your game. It's really cool because it's a physical form of DLC. So guess what? Years after everything crashes with servers and stuff like that, here's the brilliance of Nintendo is you go, oh man, you know what? I'd really like to play Zelda. Pick up a Zelda and on your system and you're like, oh man, this is really fun. You're like, I could really use a hard mode or a motorcycle or extra tracks. And guess what? You can go out and you can get those toys, those physical toys, and still use them. It's physical DLC. It's pretty good move.
Unfortunately, the people aren't buying it for that reason. They're buying, a lot of people who collect amiibos buy it because there's been such a lack of toy merchandise from Nintendo. The last couple years, they've started this Nintendo brand of toys where you can get like a Mario Kart racetrack and you can get like actual action figures. People are buying amiibos because for the last 20 years, they've been, I want a Donkey Kong statue. And they couldn't get one, or they wanted this, or they wanted that. They can't find them anywhere.
Is that also a bad business move then? Because they're not putting out.
Because
I'll agree, because the most they had was maybe T-shirts.
Yeah, and they wouldn't license. If they had just licensed it out and had Hasbro.
But once again, I think it's that quality control thing.
I'm sure it is, but the fact that people wanted it that badly and they couldn't get their hands on it, they're like, oh, $15 toys that will give you a different colored shirt if you scan it. And they just blow up and go crazy. It goes crazy because there's so many people that are starving for any merchandise from Nintendo. They shouldn't be starving. They should have that accessibility.
I don't think you should flood a market, though. I think you should be like, hey, it's something that's there, that's cherished and enjoyed. I mean, if you
It didn't seem to hurt Star Wars at all.
Really? I feel like it did.
You do now, but when in the 70s, those toys blew up everywhere.
Oh,
and they got eaten up. The episode 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3 had too many toys for it. I mean,
Jar Jar everything.
Friend of the show, Ned, has, I think, like one of every single Star Wars toy from episode 1, like the comlink touch thing.
I don't know. Like,
I think you risk damaging your brand by putting stuff out there because it is almost, in a sense, you are giving people the ability to make it perverse. You know what I mean? you have the ability to go and take something that you have control over that is a quality and purity thing, and by just letting it out into the world more so by saying, hey, we're going to lighten our grip on this intellectual property, you then open it up for a whole bunch of things that is damaging to the brand as a whole. If anything, that's good business trying to maintain your brand.
It's possibly true. I guess at the end of the day, for me, it's like Nintendo, they clearly don't care that much about expanding and growing. They just want your soul. They want you to It's true, dude. They care more about making you want them than to actually give you something. They just want you to constantly want more of it. It's like a drug. Nintendo is drugging your kids by making them want more Nintendo all the time. It's good,
though. It's a good drug. It brings sunshine, okay? And come on, man.
I don't know. If Nintendo just made the stuff that they actually release available all the time, everywhere, I would think differently about them. And I think they are getting there. I think they've, in the past 2 years, have shown drastic improvements both on their Amiibos, their Super Mini S, Mini.
Wow.
I really messed that up.
Garble that one a little more.
So the SNES Mini.
SNES Mini. Yep. There you go.
So the SNES Mini, I'm starting to find those in stores now, and even the Switch is now available. I think they're finally starting to build on those aspects, but it still bothers me to see that they're pushing an old handheld system that it's already saturated the market, and you have maybe 1 or 2 games coming for it. So I just want them to focus on the future. And if the future is Labo, that's great. But I want to see more than a $70 and an $80 box on the shelf. I want to see things that people can afford to buy and for people to want to play. And I'll say it right now. I'm curious because it releases on 420, which is hilarious.
I mean, really. Like, someone's like... Dude, do you know why that's going to sell so well?
Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to get high. And
everyone's going to get super high, and they're going to be like, dude, we should build some cardboard boxes. Did you know that it's a game? What?
Exactly. And I'm going to say it now that Labo will blow up the world when it releases and then fail because of its lack of supply. That is exactly how I feel.
But it's cardboard. If anything, maybe they've made the process easier where they're like, instead of trying to get wires and circuits together, we can print cardboard pretty easily. So maybe they'll actually reach your demands. And guess what? If enough people are buying it, maybe they can then lower the cost. So then you'll get your lower price point. You'll get your market availability. Maybe they are trying to cater to you, Dave.
By the end of the year, I expect to see that on clearance shelves.
Really?
I could be wrong, but if I had to guess, Nintendo will botch the Labo by its price point and a lack of availability.
Well, I don't have the system, and honestly, Labo is just kind of a thing. I'm just glad that they're trying new things. It might not be for me. I acknowledge that in my older age, Yep. Like, I'm like, look, Nintendo is not going to make stuff directly hit at me. They're going to pull at my little nostalgia feelers every now and then. And you know what? I'll go for that. Like the fact that the Star Fox 2 was on
the SNES Mini.
Yeah,
yep.
It was. I'm like, that's a good move. So, I mean, so you think that people are going to not be down for this?
I don't know. Like I have obviously plenty of friends that are Nintendo fans. Apparently, everyone's a Nintendo fan.
People out there.
Yep. And
Let us know.
I don't hear people talking about the Labo. I heard him talk about it a little bit at first, but what I want is I want to see how this does. This is truly an experiment of the modern age of how Nintendo's products are going to work. They're trying to bring a toy into the next generation. I don't personally think it'll work, but it might. So we'll only have to see. But I hope you Nintendo people out there are definitely hearing what we're talking about, because I know we've actually gotten some feedback about not really loving Nintendo or talking about Nintendo.
I like some Nintendo.
If you wonder, we don't talk too much about the newer Nintendo stuff because we don't currently own those systems. And this is some of the reasons why we don't own it. We're not seeing those kind of games. We're not seeing those kind of peripherals. We don't really see the things that are really driving us in yet. And Bruce is not into portability. I would love to have a Switch just to play portable games, but make a game I want to play first. And I have Zelda on Wii U, so I really have no point. You can't throw Zelda at me. And I'm not big on Mario because Mario Odyssey, to me, it played real similar to Mario 64. So if Nintendo is something that you're really into, throw me a reason to buy one. Give me things that I can try that may convince me otherwise. And if you guys have Labos after 420, I would love to see some videos or at least some kind of comments about why you love Labo, because currently I don't.
All right. Well, I guess that's kind of it for this week.
I think I'm Nintendo'd out.
I would say so. Have a good one, man.
Thank you for listening to the Couch Trolls podcast. If you like this episode, you can find more on Facebook by searching Couch Trolls or on Twitter at Couch_Trolls. I'm your announcer, Canada Sanchez, with Brian doing the sound. Thanks for listening.